Hi, I'm Matt.
And I'm Monico.
And in this video we are going to share with you how we both ended up in the amazing city of London together. And this was the first time without our parents, right?
And we were only 20 years old.
That's right.
It all started when we were both in college and we had been classmates for 2 years. And we were not really friends at that time. I would have wanted to, but when you have a crush on somebody, then in my case, I tried to avoid Matt entirely. And besides, Matt always had these nasty jokes that made me think that he didn't like me at all.
Yeah, that's right. I was just teasing, and I thought I didn't have a chance anyway, So we ended up in London together, even though we had no clue about the place. We were both studying hospitality, and for our final year we had to do an internship. I immediately chose a hotel in London because I'd never been there and I wanted a change of scenery, and some adventure. That's what I really wanted.
Yeah, and when I saw the option to go to London, I also signed up. And surprisingly, I saw Matt on the application list for that same hotel as well, together with 2 other girls.
Yeah, after some weeks we had some interviews by phone and then, we could hear the result in a couple of days.
And to be honest, I wasn't sure if I wanted Matt to get hired at all. I don't know if you know what I mean, but when you really like somebody, instead of trying to be around this person, I always felt so shy and awkward in his presence. So the idea of spending my internship with Matt together was just too stressful. But soon enough, we saw the list of the students accepted for the Kensington Park Hotel in London. And as you expected, it was Matt and Monico.
I thought that was fantastic, And I asked Monico if it would be an idea to head to London, for just a couple of days to do some house hunting. This was months before the actual internship started. You have to remember that this is also taking place in 1999. The internet was barely up and we didn't even have an email address, remember? Yeah. So there was also not that much information around about accommodation or whatever about London. So anyways, off we went. I found it a bit scary, to be around her, but hey, what the heck, No guts, no glory, right?
So we were able to stay at a house from a friend of a friend in Hounslow. It is probably a bit harsh to say, but believe me, you don't want to find yourself in Hounslow, because even if it's conveniently close to the airport, if you'll be working there, it's not really a nice place to live. So from there, we took the famous London Underground and visited the hotel we would be working at in Kensington and decided to look around for a place in this area.
Yeah. Kensington is a great area, with typical white Victorian houses, picturesque communal gardens, and they have these beautiful small streets, with one courtyard after the other. We checked the ads in the newspapers, right? We even chatted with this guy in the agency, and we also checked those billboards at the metro station.
We also explored the nearby Earl's Court neighborhood because our school had given us an address where we could stay. And it was a long stay hostel kind of thing. And for fear I wouldn't find anything, I was even considering. But Matt?
No way, man, no way. I had my own plans, I didn't want to sleep in bunk beds and have all the other hassles, I wanted a place of my own, and I even had the balls to ask Monico, if she wanted to join me so we could split the rent. And surprisingly, she said yes. Can you imagine?
Yeah, it's only because I haven't told him the whole week we were house hunting that I actually really liked him. So the idea was actually really nice, to be honest.
Yeah, so yes, it was a waste of time anyway, this couple of days in London with house hunting, But anyway, there's one rule that really applies and still applies today. You have to be in London and sign a contract within a couple of weeks.
Places are often available or only available within a couple of weeks and not announced months ahead. Also, you want to avoid being scammed and losing money after wiring the deposit, or being disappointed because the room or neighborhood isn't at all what you expected after checking the pictures online. So keep that in mind if you're thinking of moving to London.
Yeah. So coming back to how we got our place. A week before we started our internship, we stayed at a cheap hostel. At that time, there was nothing like Airbnb. So from there, we went straight back to the billboards at Earl's Court. And we found a piece of paper pinned on the board, studio for rent, fully furnished. So we called the number and we could come over within, what was it, 5 minutes, right? So we went and met this amazing friendly guy, Persian guy, I believe, Davot, that's what his name was.
Yeah.
He took care of the building and he told us that the owner had just started renting out these so-called studios.
Yeah, it was. The studios were located in a tall building and it had dozens of rooms. And we had the one on the ground floor and it was tiny as can be. The bathroom was shared with the neighboring studio and it looked super basic with this faded pink bathtub and a separate hot and cold water taps, something you would see a lot in the UK. And for the shower, we had to climb to the 3rd floor. It did have its own little kitchen, and you could tell it used to be a living room, and they just added a wall right in the middle, creating 2 studios they could rent out. Everything was included, and because we were one of the first tenants, we could get everything we needed immediately, and we could move in straight away.
Yeah. Thinking back, it was strange that we went immediately for the first place we actually visited, right? It was pretty horrible if you think about it, but you know, it was our first time ever. We were hardly home anyway, and we only paid what, £400 a month or something.
Yeah,
you know?
it was very cheap. Yeah. So for us, when we were in our 20s, we didn't care much about the quality of room. We worked in a hotel where we got lunch or dinner at the canteen, and on our days off, we would head to the city center to eat cheap Chinese food and all-you-can-eat diners. So all we wanted to do was to enjoy the city and discover new neighborhoods and beautiful parks and have dinner and drinks anywhere we liked. So it was so much fun.
Yeah, especially when we soon discovered that we both had a crush on each other, you know, and after 2 years of drooling, you know, London is really the romantic city of love for us, you know, it's such a romantic place.
Yeah, and looking back, I wouldn't do anything much differently when it comes to finding a place to live in London. However, nowadays there are so many options you can choose from. There are housing platforms that allow you to check shared apartments and enabling you to afford housing if you are even on your own.
Yeah, so if you're wondering if you should move to London, then it's definitely a yes.
Yes.
Especially if you're in your 20s. We had such a wonderful time in London, you know. It was our first big metropolitan city. You know, we work with so many young people from different corners of the world, you know. They were all looking for opportunities and answers to life, you know. And we didn't mind this tiny studio, you know. It doesn't matter, really.
Yeah, and also if you're of any age, the first place you will find is probably not your last in London. Once you discover more of the city, you will probably find even more charming areas further away from the city center, making the quality of living a bit better.
Yeah, and besides, when you are like us, you know, and you're in your 20s, you're probably not thinking about saving money anyways. So while finding a proper job will help you in finding a good type of accommodation, the rest of the money is probably spent on enjoying your life in London anyway. So try to find a practical place, probably with a better bathroom, and make sure you can afford it while still have the money to enjoy everything this city has to offer.
So we were so sad when it was time to leave for London. Matt continued his studies in the Netherlands while I decided to head to Indonesia to pursue my dream of working with orangutans.
But London has stolen our hearts, you know, and we knew we could be there back one day. And we did, almost 10 years later. But then we had different standards in life and housing, of course. So as you can guess, the second and third time we lived in London was a different experience. But that's for our next video.
So to keep in touch with us, make sure you subscribe to our channel and you can hit the notification button if you want to know when we have uploaded the next video.
Yes. We hope that our experience has given you an idea on moving to London. And we hope that we will see you in our next video. Thank you for watching.
Bye-bye.
Bye.